Okay, I think we should be live. Yes, we're live on YouTube as well. Hello, everybody. I have to be completely honest with you. Today I was not having it. I don't even have my plant. Today I wasn't having it. In all honesty, I wanted to call today off. I was already editing another short video that I was going to just put up at 5 o'clock for you to watch. Everything in me was like, no, don't do it. Just don't. But then I remembered that when I started this thing, I said that I want to make sure I have 100 episodes consistently. And I thought about that, and I thought about Oprah, 25 years, no day missed. I was like, no, Sissy, you're better than that. And I remember at the beginning of the year, I only had one goal. And my one goal was this, to follow through on the commitments that I've made. So I found myself very often having these lofty dreams, lofty goals, and things that are well within my capability to do. But due to laziness, procrastination, distractions, should I say fear? Because sometimes I think that's what it is, thinking, what are people going to think about me doing such a bold thing? I don't even do those things. So I said in 2023, my only goal is going to be to follow through and do exactly what I said I would do. So, in the spirit of that, I'm here against everything in me that just said, don't do this thing. People aren't going to come. Oh, you're wasting your time. I really just wanted to call today off, but I'm here. Number two, just two announcements that I want to make. The first one is that tomorrow I am releasing a masterclass that I am so excited about. I shot this thing about 2 months ago, if not a month ago, and I thought about how I'm going to package it. And it's such an amazing video, such a well shot video. That is a masterclass titled How, or the Signs, the 5 signs you know you are due for a career pivot. So the 5 signs that tell you that you are due for a career pivot. It is going live tomorrow at 12:30. It's 12:30 p.m. in the afternoon, not a.m., not in the morning. Okay. The second announcement is, remember that on the 29th of October, which is, I think, 3 Sundays from now, I am hosting Beyond the Resume, Finding Your Professional Purpose live workshop. This is in person. I'm gathering about 10, 15 people in one room, and we are workshopping this professional purpose thing. When you walk out of there, you are going to be clear on what your purpose is. You would have established what profession is suitable for that purpose, and then you're going to learn how to thrive in it. So a lot of the things we're going to talk about today are things that you're going to practicalize on the day or after the workshop. All right, let's hop into, I'll leave the link to the workshop in this video, in the comment, in the description of this video, so you'll be able to just click on it and secure your seats. Okay, let's hop right into the meat of today's matter. The reason why I termed the workshop Beyond the Resume is because I sat and really dissected the traditional or the standard CV or resume. And I realized that there are so many limitations with this resume that I wanted to highlight and also just conscientize us on the fact that we need to get to a point where we go beyond the resume and we actually step into our professional purpose, and we don't allow the resume to bog us down or to box us in or pin us down forever. Okay, so I'm going to discuss 10 limitations, because I'm that girl. 10 limitations of the resume and 3 ways that you can break out of the mold of that resume. The first limitation is that a resume really gives limited context. All it has is just a set or a list of your skills, your experiences, and achievements. There's very little broader, or there's a lack of a broader context. And the broader context is your why, the why behind the actions you took, the roles you took up, and the accomplishments that you had. So the first limitation is that it really has limited context. It doesn't give the full picture, but more especially, it does not convey the why behind those accomplishments. The second limitation is that it really is a tool that is inadequate for anyone who is considering or in the process of executing a career pivot. And here's why. A CV or a resume really does not effectively convey all the transferable skills or the way you wish to use the skills or transfer the skills you acquired from one role, one organization, or one position to the pivots you're trying to make. So it doesn't account for your transferable skills, for the passion that you have for your new field, nor the alignment of your evolving or alignment with your evolving purpose. So, for example, with me, when I started at the bank, I started as a graduate analyst in a sales team. So sales is sales or sales. And I moved in, I think, 2021, if not 2020, to product development. So it was easier because it was under one business unit, so under one umbrella, and I was poached. Essentially, I was asked to join the team. So it was a very easy thing then to become a specialist in product development for that reason. But then as I was evolving, as my purpose was evolving, I realized that I don't want to go back to sales. Well, not that kind of sales. I don't want to be in product development. Well, not that kind of product development. And I say these because everything that I do and everything that I put out is essentially sales. The conversations I have, the content I put out there, the emails I send, every little post I made, in a way, is sales. And when I create my courses and my master classes and my programs, it's product development, right? Or service development. So it wasn't that kind that I wanted. But as my career progressed and as my purpose evolved, I realized that I don't want to be in the technical things. I even told my boss, I don't want to do the technical things of design and putting together a product. I want to be in people and culture, which is very, very different, which is a very different function to the work that I was doing in that role. And so a submission of my resume to the head of people and culture or to people and culture lead or the HR business partner was not going to adequately convey the message I wanted it to convey. It was not going to show the passion that I have for the field that I want to venture into or the skills that I want to transfer to the new role from the role that I was currently doing. And so what I did instead was that I did a dual role. So half of my time was spent in product development and half of it was spent in people and culture. The reason I did this was because I wanted to create a body of work that would make it easy for anyone in people and culture who's got the decision making power to then say, okay, what she's currently doing is not really linked or directly linked to the work that we're doing, but here's what she has been doing in the year that is proof enough that she's passionate about this, that she's well versed and she's researched and she really wants to do this work, but also that she does it exceptionally well. I don't know if I mentioned this, but when we were doing a 360 review at the end of the year, all my doting and amazing reviews came from the work that I was essentially doing from that side because I was really good. So because I knew that a piece of paper detailing the skills I have or the of my previous job function or the courses that I took was never going to adequately do what I wanted it to do. It wasn't going to give the context or be enough for the career pivot that I made. It was very important for me to do the work. And so that's the limitation of a resume, is that it really doesn't bode well for people who are trying to make a career pivot, which is unfortunate because a lot of the people who follow my content or are under the banner of my work are people who are either contemplating a career pivot, in the process of a career pivot, or people who are what did I say? Who are contemplating in the process or have made a career pivot because they've been in my programs, right? Okay. The third limitation is that it overemphasizes past roles. So a resume does not reflect your current aspirations or your future potential. It anchors you down to what you've done in the past. And so that's why people who are currently doing certain work that is in no way aligned or in line with their passions find it really difficult to then want to move to any other organization or establish themselves anywhere else, because they look at this paper that is detailing what they can do or what they are experienced in according to whatever standards, right? Corporate standard or organizational standard. But it really does not do the work of conveying or emphasizing or highlighting what your current aspirations are, or in fact, what your future potential is. So that's a big limitation, because then if you are measured, because what happens when you go on an interview, or even before then, when people look at your resume, they already judge you or measure you for what the role is that you want or what you want to venture into based on the things you've done in the past. And if the things you've done in the past have got nothing to do with where you want to go in the future, then it limits your move, or it limits the work you can continue to do in the future. The fourth limitation is that it does not showcase soft skills. All a resume shows is your technical competencies or your hard skills. It really does not show your leadership style or your leadership skills. It does not show your adaptability factor or ability to adapt. It doesn't even showcase your EQ, which is so important. I think extensive work has been done in really highlighting or making people realize that IQ is just not enough. There's a book I have called Intelligence is Not Enough. You have to have an EQ. You have to have an acumen and a know-how. So your resume does not, it really does not showcase those things. And one can argue that no, a resume can show that you've got leadership skills if it says that your past role was head of whatever, or you were a manager to however many people. Clearly, you were a leader. But we all know that some of the titles that we have in these jobs really are not a true reflection or representation of duty and responsibility. I know people whose titles and roles say one thing, but the work they actually do is in no way true or a true reflection of what the title is. So just because somebody is a manager on paper, it does not mean they were managing people or that they managed people well. The fact that you were head of, you could be head of, and you're the only person in the team you're the only person in your team, literally, because your team and your office consists of 7 or 8 people, and everyone is responsible for a portfolio. So you are head of because that is your portfolio, and not because you are head and there are people underneath you. So a resume really does not showcase your soft skills. So we cannot even argue for leadership, because we know that some of these titles are bogus, all right? The fifth limitation is that it's got a depersonalized format. And here's a problem with the depersonalized format. You can't tailor it to the messaging for the specific opportunity you're gunning for. And this is so important, because your personal mission statement or your purpose statement is the thing that anchors you, right? So the thing you want to go out and showcase and talk about to people. Sorry, I just need to do something very, very quickly here. I heard my phone make a sound and I don't want that. Okay. So, for example, I go around saying, and I don't just go around, it's actually something that I do. I say, my name is Mbonane, and I'm a purpose alignment strategist. That means I am the expert that ambitious professionals turn to when they want to pivot into fulfilling careers with more impact and more income by aligning their purpose to their profession. That is my purpose statement. That is my personal mission statement. A resume doesn't have a slot for that. It really doesn't have the space or the room. And by room, I really just mean the accommodation for something like that. And so people who really have a message that they want to convey and put out there find it very difficult to do so in the standardized format, the one size fits all documents, or the resume templates that we know and have out there. Number two is that it cannot or does not infuse your personality, your values, and your purpose. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm flamboyant, I am boisterous, I'm energetic. But anyone who reads that on a resume can say, oh, of course, everyone who's young says they're energetic, but they wouldn't really see that I have a song for every word that I hear, that I'm very energetic in doing my work until they see me. And a lot of the times, and the reason why I'm particularly talking about resumes being limited is that we know now that a resume is not enough. When a job post goes out there, chances are, high probability are, it's just going out there for formality's sake. Otherwise, they already know who they want in that position, right? We know that. But secondly, scores and thousands of people apply for those roles. And I don't know what kind of magic or what kind of grace is needed for yours to get picked out of a standardized format, similar cover letter. In fact, there's a meme or graphic that's going around of that. Remember when we used to do curriculum vitae on the old Word document, and it's that blue sort of chunky letters. This is the thing, right? It's so standardized that it does not stand out from others. So the chances of yours being picked up from a stack are very, very limited. There's got to be something beyond the resume that you can do that makes you stand out, because a regular traditional resume, it limits your opportunities so much. So your resume can be outstanding. You can have the best credentials, the best qualifications, you can have the best titles on there, you can have written it so well, but you may not even get the interview. So your personality coming out, or your values being communicated, or your purpose being understood and well articulated are very, 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 very slim. To that, some important information gets omitted from a resume. And this information is something like volunteer work that you're involved in, your side hustles, the personal development activities that you've been doing to contribute to your professional purpose. It really doesn't communicate your values or your passions. So those things don't get highlighted in your resume, and which are things that are so essential and so key in you developing and growing into, or even building or establishing your professional purpose. The sixth limitation is missed opportunity for storytelling. You will notice that almost every video, almost every email I send, almost every episode I come on here or do, or almost every post I make is a story. And the reason for it is not because I have a lot of stories in here, and I do. I've got stories for everything. I've got stories for any occasion, any event, any idea. If a topic is out there, I already have a story for it, because I'm a very I love experiences, and I immerse myself fully in experiences. So I'm able to come out of there with a story, and I've captured it in my mind and in my heart because I lived the moment. And just to that, I'm sidetracking. I find there was a time I started vlogging on my YouTube channel, and I absolutely hated it. I hated it because, and I realized that I hated when I went to Dubai. When I went to Dubai, I experienced everything on my phone because I wanted to film it for people who are going to watch it later. So, in essence, there was no difference between me, who was there to see and touch the Burj Khalifa, who was there to see and touch everything in Dubai, to somebody who was going to watch it on my YouTube. I didn't even post those things on YouTube. I still have them on my Google Photos. And I'm so peeved by that, because The thing with wanting to document everything is that you lose being in the moment. You don't capture it. And so I've got a story about everything because I experience everything fully. But I'm also such a curious mind that when I hear something, I always want to interact with it, interface with it, or try to align it to something or relate it to something in my life. So a resume will never and can never convey these little stories that I have, or even your bigger life story. It does not capture your journey, your growth, and even how you came to align with your purpose. And I absolutely hate that, because telling stories is so effective in getting your message across, but also connecting with people, because people connect with real people and with real stories. The seventh limitation is the inequality in representation that is presented by resumes, and in two ways. The one way being that resumes perpetuate, or they enable the perpetuation of biases and inequalities in hiring. I've heard so many stories of people who don't put their African names on their resumes because they fear that because they are African, they will not be considered for certain roles. They don't put their traditional names. Maybe they are a Muhammad or um, uh, Nazim, or because they're afraid of being stereotyped for being Muslim, or all of those things. I know people who want to use names that are unisex because they don't want to be found out to be women, instead of being known to be men or being misconstrued to be a man. So a resume really does that. Somebody looks at it and they're like, Nompumelelo Mbonane. Nompumelelo, firstly, African name. Secondly, it is a woman, off the consideration table. So it does perpetuate that. And also, a resume doesn't account for non-traditional career paths, gaps in employment, or skills acquired through informal means. And that's so annoying. I know people now are able to update their resumes with either courses they did on LinkedIn or with Google or all those other things. But if it's not from an accredited place like your Udemy or other things, and it's very problematic. But there are so many ways of learning certain things. I personally am not registered with a particular body that is going to recognize the programs that I have, but there's so much value in the programs that I have. They have transformed my career and the careers of other people who've taken the program. So it does not account for the non-traditional roles that you've had. I am a purpose alignment strategist. That is a non-traditional role. And if I put that down there, people are like, what? Oh, we wanted to know if you are a salesperson, or you are a consultant, or if it really doesn't account for that, especially the gaps in employment. Very, very shady. The eighth thing is that it really does not capture your long term goals and your vision for the future. Number nine, it underrepresents diverse talents or interdisciplinary backgrounds. So, people who are multifaceted, people who love to stick their hands in many pots, are not in the wrong way, but just because they are interdisciplinary, just because they are really, really brilliant at a lot of things, the resume doesn't have room for that. And finally, the other limitation with the resume is its inability to gauge culture and purpose fit. So yes, you can have the credentials, you can have the experience, but are you going to be a good fit for the organization that you want to get into? Are you going to be a good purpose fit for that organization? I was having a conversation with an organization that I really love, and that I am joining, not in formal employment, but that I'm going to be working closely with very much. Is that they were asking, so how are you going to make sure that individuals do actually find themselves in corporations that are aligned to their purpose, or organizations just want to hire, they don't want to know what your purpose is. So how can you make sure that you have the right people in the roles for these organizations? And I told them that it starts at a hiring or at the hiring and recruitment process, you want to put mechanisms in there that are going to highlight to you what is important to that person, and whether or not their vision and their values and their purpose align with the vision and the values and the purpose of the organization, and whether or not in doing that particular work they would feel like they are carrying out something that's meaningful to them, and they can go to bed happy that they didn't just close deals for the organization, but they in that way, in closing deals for the organization, also close deals for themselves. And I'm using this terminology because I remember when I was still employed in the bank, I was very, 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 very young in my journey there. One old man was retiring from the bank, and another young lady went up to him and said, "Hey, Mr. X, what advice would you give to somebody who's very young in their career, as someone who's old and phasing out of your career?" And this man, with the most somber mood and the most heartbreak, is that he said, "You know, right now I'm going to eat at a certain restaurant with my team, and that is the gift that they are giving me as I part. What I would tell you is, in all the years that I've spent at this bank, I realized that I closed deals for this bank and none for myself." And he said, "The advice I would give you as an old man leaving corporate and you who's still building your career is close deals for yourself." And this is something that is so resounding to a lot of people, because they realize that all they're doing is just closing deals for an organization and none for themselves. And it's very important that you close deals for yourself too. So relying on your resume is not going to be enough if you're trying to make a career pivot, or if you're really trying to establish a professional purpose. What you're going to need to do is utilize online platforms in order to build your profile or your portfolio. Anybody who knows me knows that I love LinkedIn because it's a professional site that can really allow you to grow and to showcase your growth and your ability on the platform. So you need to be a person who is very intentional about showcasing your abilities, your skills, your passions, your stories, your purpose on these online platforms for the people who you want to see these things, to see them. Your resume is not going to cut it. Your resume is not even going to cover the expansiveness of who you are and what you have to offer. And platforms like LinkedIn are very, very great for you to be able to do all the things that would be limited, or that you're limited from doing, by a resume. Number two, utilize blogs and podcasts and long form video platforms like YouTube or LinkedIn Live, or all these things, Instagram Live. And the reason for this is, these online platforms like your LinkedIn, your Instagram, your Facebook, and whatever else, they are great, but the copy that you can write is very little, right? And people's attention span on those things is very limited, is very little. So you want to, yes, be able to give people those highlights and those synopses of the things that you do, but you also want to have a platform where you are able to fully share your thought leadership, or fully share your opinions on things, or your belief, and how you want to move things forward. So if you're good at writing, start blogging. Blog about the things that matter to you. Blog about how you want to change the world. Blog about what matters to you. Really put out there the essence of your professional purpose. Number two, if you are good at speaking, then consider a podcast or a YouTube channel or whatever. If you don't want to be seen, then podcast is the way. But if you want people to see your hands and your facial expressions and all of those things, then a platform like YouTube or any other platform that will allow you to record video, whether it's live or pre-recorded, for you to really go in depth on the things that you post in short term, then utilize those platforms. But it's going to be very, very important that you showcase exactly what you have to offer. And finally, I would really, really advise that you attend workshops and events that focus on aligning your career with your purpose, so that you will be able to articulate and showcase your unique value beyond what a resume can capture. And that is essentially why I'm hosting the in-person workshop called Beyond the Resume, because the resume is really, really limited in what it can do for you to establish your professional purpose or pivot into your professional purpose. You want to be in a space where you are able to build on, to understand, and then be able to articulate, know what to put on these short form platforms, these long form platforms, know exactly how you can communicate and convey your unique value and your professional purpose to the people who are not just attached to your purpose, but those who can elevate and grow and catapult your professional purpose. I hope this was helpful to you. I would love for you to come to the workshop because I want to help you to move beyond the resume and establish a thriving and sought after professional purpose. All right, let me make the last announcement before I leave. Next week is going to be a bit different in this way. On Tuesday, we're doing a Q&A. All right, a Q&A. And what I want you to do is on this post, if this is on LinkedIn, please send me whatever question you want me to answer as it relates to purpose, your profession, wealth building, the mindset that you need to have as a professional, impact, and all of those things. And if you're on YouTube, just leave the comments and I will capture those questions and answer them in the Q&A on Tuesday. Wednesday's episode, I want us all to start setting purposeful goals for our careers. So come with your pen, come with your paper. We're going to set goals, and I'm going to direct you on how to set purposeful professional goals. And on Thursday, I want you to bring that paper along, but also bring a chart and some pictures or maybe an idea of how you want to create a vision board for your career next year. So when you think about 2024 and what you want to accomplish, just start collecting pictures there so that we can vision board together. And as we continue to talk and as you continue to make decisions for your purpose and for your career, you not only have the goals in your mind or written down, but you also have the vision board that you can look at and aspire to every day. I'm seeing a question here from Mbonane that says, don't you believe sometimes it's necessary to assume an unsatisfactory role as a foot in the door in order to pivot to a desired role through proximity? You can, but the chances of that working are slim to nil. And here's why. It's very, very possible. And sometimes it is necessary to just, and I know this guy who decided to be he was an accountant, and he decided to be a bodyguard. So he's well built, he loves the gym, to be a bodyguard to people who do work in the financial space. So your financial coaches, your financial speakers and stuff. And he said that yes, he's great in accounting, he can do the work, but he wanted to do that work, which is in your words, an unsatisfactory role. And he said he did that because he wants to be in close proximity with the people who are doing the work. He's getting paid to be a bodyguard, but he's also seeing the operations. He's understanding the lingo. He is getting himself close to the people that he wants to serve. So it's great. But it's very easy to get sucked into that thing. As people who are in careers that they hate, we know that it's very, very easy to get sucked into that thing. You start assuming debt and you start really becoming complacent. You really do things that get you more and more sucked into the role, and it's hard for you to come out of. So that is one way, but it is also a way that is more effective to really start putting your thoughts and your work and your art out there so the right people can see it. The people who you believe you are going to be in close proximity with when you do the unsatisfactory role, you can actually be doing whatever else you're doing on the side while building your portfolio, while building your acumen, while building your knowledge base, while building up this thing that you want to get into. So yes, I can say that if there's an opportunity to be close to the people who can really grow your career, people who can become your mentor or your sponsor or your coach, and you want to be in close proximity with those people because they're in an industry that you love, by all means, do that. But if you can stay where you are, doing what you're doing, but also engaging in material and content and in professional development activities that are going to, while you're there, allow you to build, and while you build, showcase what you know, the progress you're making, and all of that. That is what I would advise. And we're talking about a career pivot because we are acknowledging that you are not currently where you want to be. You wouldn't be talking about a pivot if where you are was ideal. If something isn't broke, why fix it? If something is working, why tamper with it or change it? So the reason we're talking about a pivot is because we're already conscious of the fact that you are not where you ideally want to be. And where you ideally want to be might be the role that is unsatisfactory. But my advice really would be, and I would have loved to answer this question next week, but if you've got more questions, just drop them. My advice would be, while you are there, do yourself the justice, do yourself the big favor of building towards your professional purpose, and build your plane while you fly it. While you build, begin to showcase, begin to speak, begin to let the people know what you're doing, because success is exponential. You don't start something today and tomorrow it works out. You want to, at the point that you make the pivot, or the reason for the pivot be the fact that you have built such a good body of work, that you were noticed, and that you developed yourself so well that when the opportunity finds you, you are ready for it. And you haven't just been observing and watching, but you've been doing the work of building. I hope that helps. That concludes our episodes for this week. Guys, this is not easy. I just want to admit to all of you, it's not easy. Today, particularly, I was just like, I don't have to do this. I can just put an article out there on LinkedIn or a post on YouTube, and they will get the information. But I committed to this. And this is part of building my portfolio and building my profile. And I said I want to be a speaker, and I can't just want to speak on stages when I haven't built the ability to speak. If you'll notice something about me, and I always brag about this because I think it's something I've been very intentional about doing. Whenever I speak, I don't use filler words like uh because I know how annoying that thing is, but also because I understand that as a speaker, you don't want to distract people with those kind of things. You will notice that I take a moment to think about something. So those little things, I'm able to train and catch myself when I do these things. I said, when I'm on the big stage, I'm not taken by surprise. I'm not there fumbling the bag because I get paid to speak. I don't want to get there and people are just like, oh my gosh, she seemed like such a novice. But all these episodes later, somebody sees what I'm doing. Somebody wants me in the organization and says, this girl is always talking about this. And it's so valuable that my team learns this information. I get invited. I get to do long-term work because of the portfolio that I'm building. So I'm not preaching to you something that I'm not already doing. I started using LinkedIn, I can't remember when, but the traction I've built and so many of my opportunities have come from this platform. The people who've heard me speak are people who've heard me speak on YouTube. And so it's very important that whatever you're trying to pivot to, you won't just make the pivot to nothing. You have to continue building your plane as you fly it, or fly your plane as you build it. You have to do these things. And the truth of the matter is, all the things that you're doing will not and cannot always be captured in a resume. That's why you cannot rely on a resume to get your message and your essence and your heart and all the work that you do out there. You need to transcend beyond the resume. And transcending beyond the resume means building and establishing your professional purpose, and then pivoting into that professional purpose so you can really find fulfillment in the job that you do or the work that you do, have the impact you want to have and were designed and created to have, and make good money doing what you love in the service of those who love what you do. Again, if you're interested in coming to the workshop, please just leave a comment in this or send me a DM on LinkedIn by using these three letters: BTR, beyond the resume. Not a speech, not a hello, ma'am, none of those things. Just send me BTR as a comment on the video that you're watching or in my messages on LinkedIn, and I will know exactly where you come from and exactly what you want to do. But I want to help you transcend beyond the resume, and not just find your professional purpose, but pivot into it. For this week and this episode, I am Mbonane. It was lovely to have you. I will see you next week, Tuesday, for our Q&A session. Have a lovely evening. Have a lovely weekend. I'll see you next week. Mwah. Bye, guys.